New York is facing a $3 billion budget deficit, second only to California. But in the middle of the legislative session last November, longtime Brooklyn Assemblyman Dov Hikind led a group of American Jews to Israel to check out real estate in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. Now, there are many things I've missed since my bar mitzvah, but this didn't seem quite kosher. Maybe the Holy Land had something New York Governor Dave Patterson did not. Maybe Dov Hikind had the key to peace on earth this holiday season.
And we skipped our stop.
Is God working against us? I had my mom mail me my old trusty yarmulke and headed up to Assemblyman Hikind's district of Borough Park to find out.
You look like a rabbinical student. You get along very well here.
Assemblyman Hikind, welcome back to America after your trip to Israel. I would love to hear how the trip went.
It was a fabulous trip. We had about 50 Americans from all over the country who came with us, American Jews who came with us. The purpose of the trip, the original reason why I did this, was in reaction to the Obama administration's policies that I felt were grossly unfair, in fact, unprecedented in terms of any president prior to him. The idea was to go to the areas of Judea and Samaria, referred to by some as the West Bank, and areas of Jerusalem, so-called East Jerusalem, and to give chizuk, which means strength, to show support for the amazing people who live in those communities. And it was a great trip and generated a lot of attention.
And you had said you intended to look for properties and perhaps buy properties.
I'm not involved in sales, okay? But you know, if people want to, they should be able to. Just like they can do probably in Paris and London and Madrid, etc. If you tell me that you as a Jew cannot live in that neighborhood, that's called segregation. That's the kind of stuff we used to do with black people. To apply that in Israel and to say that Jews cannot live in a particular area. Look, everyone is for peace. Maybe one day there will be. I don't know when, maybe the next generation. When there'll be peace, we'll deal with the issue of Jewish communities in these different areas.
One of the Israelis we go back to in interview time and again is this guy, Ronan Hershkovitz, who's in the IDF. And I was asking him about this idea of building in the settlements in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. In his view, it doesn't help the peace process.
Mr. Hershkowitz's response is not very relevant and doesn't deal with the facts.
Let's say, just for argument's sake, you bought some real estate there, an apartment building or just apartments. Would you be all right renting these places out to Palestinians, for example?
No, it depends on the individual. I personally get along with everybody. I don't like terrorists. I don't like people who want to destroy me. I don't like people who want to kill me. But beyond that, we should all respect each other and treat each other in the proper way. When I met this guy from Shalom Achshav, I walked away after we had this huge press conference in Israel, and I walked away and I went over to shake their hands. And one of the guys put out his hand. He was so warm. Next thing I knew is I gave him my cell phone in Israel. The next thing I know, he's calling me. Next thing I know, he's coming from Tel Aviv to talk. We hit it off so beautifully. I can tell you that we look at each other very differently after finding out we're both human beings.
If you could just sit down with the Palestinians to find out that you're both human beings, is that kind of all that's lacking? But you haven't...
When you've had years and years of terrorism directed against men, women, and children, okay, that is never acceptable. Am I willing to sit down with people of like mind who feel the way I do, at least philosophically? You can have a different point of view, but at least let's sit and talk, because if we don't sit and talk, we're all dead. Of course I would sit. I'd sit with anybody.
As an assemblyman, is your number one priority Israel? I mean, New York has a $3 billion deficit now. Some might criticize you for going to Israel right at this very...
The well-being of the people of Israel is an extremely important issue to me personally, not as an assemblyman, as a person, as a Jew. As an elected official, I can be more effective. I can get more attention, possibly. I represent a community where almost every single person has a family member living in Israel. Okay, so we're not talking about Italy or some other country that I'm very involved in.
You were quoted as saying, and I'm just going to read the quote,
Sure, please.
Obama, Clinton, and the others, we will continue to give our message to those who just don't get it, and that is that these communities will continue to grow and get stronger, regardless of the position taken by any American president.
When you believe that someone's policies are counterproductive and even dangerous to the well-being of a country, which to me is very dear, of the people of Israel, the state of Israel, then not to speak out, not to voice your view, would be almost immoral, I think. No president of the United States has ever set a standard that President Obama has set. I think when you show weakness, people will take advantage of you, and that has happened in many different areas.
Would you describe yourself as a hawk?
With the exception of a couple of issues, I vote basically no different than almost all my Democratic colleagues. You know, there are some issues which I've made very, very clear what my position is and why it is. It isn't like a personal thing. I say, hey, I'm an Orthodox Jew. I follow the Torah to the best of my ability. And even what I don't follow, I don't deny is correct. Don't be angry at me, be angry at God. Because my position is defined by the Torah. So I think I should get the same respect that I give people who have a different point of view. I hate labels. I don't even like the label of when the New York Times describes me as an Orthodox Assemblyman. Because, like, how do you know how Orthodox I am? Only God knows that.
Right.
But I hate racists, and I hate bigots, and I hate anti-Semites.
So you're correctly named Dov.
See, I always tell people I'm not that kind of dove. You know, it is a bear. You know, it's not a bird, but
a gentle bear.
Gentle, very gentle.
And you mentioned the idea of wanting peace. What to you would be the ideal solution?
I don't know where it goes and what the end. You know, the thing that's important is to be real about this. Not to live in a dream world, not to live on the moon. You know, peace is a wonderful thing. You know, but as I said before, I wonder about this sometimes. Is it possible that this generation that we live in, with all the things that have happened, that it's just not going to happen, that there is not going to be a peace process?
If you could give a child a gift this holiday season, what would it be?
How old is the child?
A young underprivileged child.
I'd give him one of those beers we have with my name on it. That's very cuddly. That would make him smile.
So we got a couple Christmas questions.
Uh-oh.
What is your favorite Christmas carol?
I don't have one. My parents are Holocaust survivors. My mother spent time in Auschwitz. Her mother was killed in Auschwitz and the rest of her family. My father went through 6 concentration camps. I don't think Christmas was very much on our mind. In fact, one of the most popular Christmas songs was actually written by a Jew, by Irving Berlin.
Yeah.
A wonderful. Is it a wonderful Christmas? Is it White Christmas? White Christmas. It was written by Irving Berlin. In fact, by the way, some of the Christmas music is very, very pretty. But sometimes I feel a little guilty listening to it. Anyway, go.
After my trip to Assemblyman Hikind's office, I saw that there was no easy path to peace on earth. But I did get some useful tips on West Bank real estate. So the next time I wear my yarmulke may be at my wedding in Samaria. This is Ivan Weiss, Film at 11.